Last week, my friend and I went to a party here in Brooklyn. The flyer had Portuguese on it, the food listed was churrasco, so naturally, we thought it was one of those Brazilian events that we go to when we start feeling homesick. We both grew up in Brazil and went to university here in the US, so this kind of thing isn't new to us. But what was new was what we found when we got there. Out of the 100 or so people there dancing, only about 10 of them, if not less, were actually from Brazil. And suddenly, something clicked in both of our heads. Growing up in Brazil in the 2000s, we wore t-shirts that said New York and California. We grew up on Hollywood movies and American pop stars. But here we were in New York City, witnessing Americans wearing Brazilian jerseys, dancing funky like Brazilians, and singing along to songs in Portuguese, or at least trying to. We were experiencing a complete role reversal. Anyone who grew up in a developing country in the 2000s knows that this experience is a complete mindfuck. But at that party, it hit us. Something big is happening. For the past 80 years, the US has dominated cultural exports. But now, for the first time in recent modern history, that monopoly is being challenged, largely due to the disruption of media distribution caused by social media, and particularly one Chinese app that changed everything. In my lifetime so far, technology has changed dramatically. We went from watching films on cable TV and listening to music on the radio, to then streaming media on laptops and listening to music on iPods, to now being completely dependent upon smartphones for everything, except for regulating the nervous systems that those same phones have fried. That tech has reshaped how we create and consume culture. Take music albums, for example. They traditionally had about 12 songs, each 3 minutes long or so. Why? Because in the vinyl era, that's typically the amount of music or sound that a vinyl could physically hold. Similarly, music videos became popular because they were the perfect marketing tool for the MTV era. But even though pretty much nobody watches music cable channels anymore, artists still make 12-track albums and MTV-worthy music videos. The influence of old technology is still relevant today. But it's not just the tools. It's who has access to the tools and who has the funds to distribute cultural products at scale. A well-funded entertainment industry doesn't just create songs and films. It controls the narrative. The country that exports the most media becomes the main character in the story of the world. The United States understood this early on. While many countries undervalued arts and culture, America invested in it and became the world's master of soft power. Soft power relies on making a country's culture, values, and policies appealing to other nations and their citizens. Whatever your opinion is about the United States, it's undeniable that for the past century, the US has taught a masterclass on how to use media to sell a dream. Storytelling, omnipresence, connection, all of it positioned the United States as the global protagonist. But in the past couple of decades, a new superpower has entered the arena: China. Sports are another form of soft power. China has rivaled the US in sports across multiple Olympics. But when it comes to exporting culture, music, films, media, China has lagged due to its government restrictions and internal focus. Despite having one of the world's largest populations, most of us outside of China can't really name one Chinese pop star. But then, a company called ByteDance made its move. Whether intentional or not, TikTok disrupted the system in a way that nobody expected. China didn't need to export more arts and media. It just needed to change the way that arts and media get seen. Platforms like MySpace, YouTube, and SoundCloud had already started shifting this dynamic. You no longer needed a Hollywood budget or a major label deal to create something that people would want to watch or listen to. But what people in the global north typically don't realize is how deeply this impact shifted the lives of creators in the global south. TikTok made it possible for anyone, anywhere, to have a chance to create something and be seen. And that dramatically leveled a playing field that was once dominated by the United States. In a moment where BRICS nations are positioning themselves to counter US economic power, we're also seeing these same countries set and lead global trends. In 2024, we had the year of South Africa's Amapiano, as well as Afro House, the latter which probably became the most saturated genre in dance music in the United States and Europe. In 2025, we're having the year of Brazilian funk. And although genres like Brazilian funk and Amapiano have existed for decades, their mass distribution on a global scale was only possible because of TikTok. Whether these sounds go viral on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube Shorts, TikTok was the system disruptor. Now, I'm not saying that this is some BRICS conspiracy to dismantle American soft power, but the relationship between economics and culture in a globalized world is real. And the United States is feeling the effect of this. That's why you get things like Trump proposing 100% tariffs on foreign films. What I am saying is that we went from New York to Empire State of Mind to Nueva York. Bad Bunny. Emerging economies dismissed by the global north are now gaining cultural relevance at scale. But at this point, it shouldn't really be surprising us. We've been witnessing the global south set trends for over a decade. The way Caribbean music influenced pop music in the 2000s and 2010s, the amount of Bollywood and South Asian samples in American pop, R&B, and hip-hop,
Baby, can't you see?
The rise of reggaeton, and Bad Bunny starting off the 2020s decade being the most streamed artist for 3 consecutive years, while only singing in Spanish for like 99% of the time. The Afrobeats takeover of the viral charts in the early 2020s, and more traditional North American pop artists hopping on these songs to catch a wave on trends while simultaneously amplifying their sound. But as a third culture kid myself, I'd be remiss to not point out that these cultural exchanges are also made possible by a different kind of technology: airplanes. Immigration and travel in the 21st century has had just as much of an effect on music and media as the internet. Diasporic communities in the United States and Europe have been shaping what the world today hears and sees. And this is exactly the kind of shift that makes white supremacists panic. They see people from different backgrounds and different places taking up space and telling their stories, singing their songs. But so far it makes sense, right? More access levels the playing field. Emerging economies get a shot at the spotlight. Everyone gets a chance to tell their stories. But here's where it really gets interesting: when coolness itself begins to shift. Coolness around the world is no longer tied to Hollywood standards. When I scroll on TikTok and see Brazil core videos, when I hear African and Latin hits topping viral charts, when I walk into a Brooklyn party and see someone wearing the kind of shirt my uncle would wear to hide his beer belly at a bar on Sunday to watch his soccer team lose, yet once again, it's clear that we're not just at the table, we're setting it. Now, you may be asking yourself, isn't this whole global south aesthetics becoming cool thing just another moment of cultural appropriation or appreciation, or whatever the fine line is between the two in a multicultural, globalized world with complex power dynamics? Honestly, it's probably a mix of all of the above. But I think the main difference between what we're witnessing in the 2020s as opposed to previous decades is that we're getting the content straight from the source. When you scroll on short form apps, you may come across a Brazilian funk from the voice of a young artist in a favela, without it having to come through the voice and interpretation of a North American or European artist who reinterpreted the aesthetic or sampled the sound. Furthermore, the video is also distributed globally, so other global south countries are able to take that content and make it their own, which is kind of what you see happening in Russia and Turkey with funk and rally. Producers in Russia and Turkey took the sounds of Brazilian funk that have been distributed on a global scale through social media apps and mixed it with other sonic aesthetics that are typically associated with car culture, creating entirely new music genres that have gone massively viral on both the short form video apps as well as streaming services, all without the involvement of the United States or other first world powers. And speaking of Brazilian funk and global sounds, if you've enjoyed the music that we've covered in this video, I've curated 2 playlists that you may also enjoy: Brazilian Electronic and Latin Summer 2025, full of both underground and above ground bangers to get you through the low-key end of the world. And if you've enjoyed the songs that have been playing in this video, like one step, 2 step, right foot, then left. Let's go. On the way the dark pool, I wanna be keeping you warm. I got the right temperature for shelter you from the storm. I'm a music artist blending Brazilian culture with global sound. This video isn't sponsored, but if you've liked what you've heard so far, I would appreciate it if you hit the link below and followed me on Spotify. And not only will you keep up with new releases, but you also help push my music out into Spotify's discovery algorithm, generating streaming revenue that makes it possible for me to make videos like this. Subscribing here on YouTube also helps push this story out to more people. And hitting the notification bell keeps you updated when a similar video like this comes out. Because let's be honest, you and I both know that you can't have dinner without a good video essay. So go ahead, hit subscribe and the notification bell. But anyways, beyond the rearrangement of distribution dynamics, this phenomena is symptomatic of something much deeper. I think the global north is tired of itself, tired of its hustle, tired of its rat race. I think people resonate with global south music because it feels like the opposite: spiritual, communal, alive. I think people who live in the global north today crave community, spirituality, and soul, and the time to be present and alive. Those ingredients are usually present in the music of global south cultures, even amongst the most dire economic conditions. And now, people in the first world are looking to the third world for how to dress, what to listen to. But like in Brazil, you can't tell what season it is by walking into a Target. First of all, because there is no Target. And secondly, because not every holiday or weather change is meant to be monetized. Some moments in life are just meant to be lived, not consumed. In Brazil, we try to work so we can live, to pay our bills, make time for family gatherings, enjoy a little bit of ócio on Sunday afternoons. In America, we live to work. What we do and how well we do it defines who we are in society. I don't say this to romanticize developing economies, okay? There's a lot of bullshit that comes with being and living in a developing country, especially in the working class. Poverty and lack of access to basic human resources is real and devastating. But capitalism in America is also brutal. And more, I feel like the people are feeling it. But because of this change in how we create, distribute, and consume culture and media, the cultures once dismissed as third world are now showing the world how to live, feel, and connect again. We used to watch the American dream on TV screens and tune into it on the radio. But now, we're subscribing to the Brazilian dream on YouTube, following the Nigerian dream on TikTok, and falling in love with the Boricua dream on Spotify. For the first time in recent modern history, the Global North isn't the one telling the story, it's the one listening to the stories. The Global South isn't just taking a seat at the table, we're bringing the food, the molho, the sazon, and the music, and the rhythm. Motherfuckers are eating it up. So while the Global North may still have most of the world's hard power, the Global South is the one with the aux cord, or the Bluetooth connection, but the aux cord, like, it's better? I don't know. Anyways, you guys get the point. This video is not meant to diss America. Obviously, I live in New York. I think there are great things about the US. It's just an observation and an opinion piece on things I see happening and where I see culture moving. That being said, it is bright as shit. If I was squinting the whole video, you would think I'm mad at you. I'm in the process of trying to find a place where I can film that does not have wind and obnoxious sunlight. But for now, you get Bushwick as the background. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys next time. Tamo junto!